if I am a teacher who doesn't necessarily know a lot about the silent way, how can I use this?
Well, I would suggest putting it up on the wall, in actual fact. Well, there are two ways you can use it. First of all, it will help you to know what the functions are in English. Because one of the problems is that, what I've noticed, for example, is people who are used to using a textbook. In a textbook, you have chapter 1, which is going to deal with this, and then chapter 2, which will deal with that. And what people get is a very spotty idea of what the language is about. Right? They have vocabulary, and then, for
Yeah.
example, one thing that happens is if I say to my students, how many tenses are there in English? No idea, right? How many tenses are there? I don't know. They should know, right? Because they need to know, how many sounds are there. You can't do one sound in the first lesson and another sound in the second lesson and another sound in the third lesson. They need to know what the sounds are. There are this number of sounds. You have to master all of those, and that's all, right? And when you've mastered those, you've mastered the sound system. And the same with this. When you've mastered all these things here, then you've mastered English, basically. And then we're just going to add the vocabulary. And so a teacher can use this simply to know what the different things are so that you don't leave anything out, so that you
Yeah.
don't forget. So what you can't do is start down here. I don't know whether my pointer is visible. Is it still
It
visible?
is.
So you can start down here. What you can't do is then take a great leap up here.
Yeah.
Students can't handle it. There's a very important idea, which was the person who had this idea was Vygotsky, way back in the very early 1930s. And he came up with the idea of the zone of proximal development. And so in the idea of the zone of proximal development is that any student, anyone learning anything, knows up to a certain point. And to be able to go beyond that point, they need some help from someone. They can do it by themselves sometimes, but it certainly speeds things up hugely if they have some help from someone, which will take them that one little step further. And so the silent way is built around the idea that we work constantly on the zone of proximal development. And so every time there's a mistake, we're at the edge of the zone of proximal development, and I help the student to gain that tiny piece, whatever it is, and he puts it into place. And so what he's doing is gradually building up this central core of the language, which Coutinho called the spirit of the language.